Hello, my name is Stephen Denman. My organisation is Shining Guidance. My website is shiningguidance.com. I'm going to talk to you today about the connections between the afterlife and the concept of the near death experience, or NDE, and those individuals who have Autism Spectrum Disorder, or ASD conditions. Now, for those individual children and adults that do have Autism Spectrum Disorder, or ASD, and their understanding of death and the afterlife and the concept of a near death experience, or NDE, they kind of collectively perceive these different aspects as really a spiritual process, because they feel on a much deeper esoteric level that the soul personality does have to move on from being enshrined within a condensed vibratory physical body here on planet Earth within the 3D holographic reality of the material dimension, after that soul personality has gained enough experiential understanding and interaction here, while it's been enshrined in that physical body that can be defined as a human being for maybe 85 years, maybe 90 years, or a bit longer. Now, most children and adults that have autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, believe that there isn't really any relevance in just existing as the self in this lifetime, for a vast duration, because the physical body that enshrines the soul personality is only meant to do so for a certain period of time, whilst it is in existence here within the 3D holographic reality of this material dimension. And because the soul personality then needs to move on after gaining enough experiential discernment to gain new experiential understanding elsewhere within another incarnation, that soul personality does that by either incarnating within, again, and enshrining itself within the body of another human being, perhaps here on planet Earth, or within the more etheric bodies of, that define different ultra terrestrials and extraterrestrials that exist on planets and moons, maybe beyond space time, but still here orbiting stars in this galaxy or another galaxy. But for other soul personalities, they may wish to have a completely different perspective in terms of experiential understanding than the ones they've previously had, and that can only be gained if they incarnate within the much faster vibrations that define the 4D holographic reality of the astral plane, and do so for an extended duration. So, from the perspective of those who have autism spectrum disorder, or ASD conditions, the concept of death and therefore the afterlife, and the actual perspectives that are given to understanding what is known as a near death experience, NDE, are not really things that seem to cause any fear or concern or worry or anxiety in their minds. And indeed, many children and adults who have autism spectrum disorder, ASD conditions, have a very different view of death and the afterlife and the concept of a near death experience, or NDE, when compared to more neurotypical individuals. Now, a near death experience, or ND, is an incredibly profound and spiritually centered personal experience. And many individuals who have autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, who have been involved in such an event, have said that they have perceived demons in rather hellish looking etheric landscapes that define the infernal regions of the lower astral, but they've also actually perceived in the much faster vibratory rates in other areas of the 4D holographic reality, the astral plane, communities of light beings. And they've also observed, shall we say, choirs of angels that they've seen resonating with incredible holy light within celestial hyperspace, and therefore within the heavenly kingdom. So that's very interesting that has been going on for so many individuals with autism spectrum disorder, or ASD conditions. Now, for children and adults with autism spectrum disorder, ASD, the near death experience, or NDE, can include sensations of electromagnetic detachment from their own physical bodies, having feelings of levitation, emotional security, total serenity, compassionate warmth, the feeling of absolute spiritual completion and infinite oneness, and actually really fully and entirely sensing that they're in the presence of the holy light that permanently and boundlessly emanates directly from the universal creator of heaven and earth and every eternal parallel dimension, parallel reality, and parallel universe forever and ever and ever and ever. Now, many of those who have autism spectrum disorder or ASD, and many of those who are neurotypical, who have gone through a near-death experience or NDE, believe there are different stages which collectively define the near-death experience or NDE, and these are rather fascinating, and I'm going to discuss these now. And they can include having a sense of awareness of becoming a deceased, physical-looking human being. That can also include having a sudden feeling of inner peace, clearly and audibly hearing what appears to be choral singing voices and chiming music without any discernible location of where it's coming from, having a feeling of swiftly ascending directly away from their own physical body, and becoming a remote viewer who observes their own physical body from the ceiling of a medical room, say, for example, in a hospital, whilst professional medical teams are attempting to resuscitate them. And this etheric perspective is known as an autoscopy. They can have a sense that the soul personality is leaving this earthly realm and is rapidly ascending along a luminous white tunnel that is comprised of absolutely enormous and very tall angels who are singing the song of divine creation as the soul personality moves towards a very bright glowing white disk of holy light. They suddenly have an immediate and apparent knowledge and sense that they have arrived in either the 4D holographic reality of the astral plane, or they've gone into the super fast vibrations that define the celestial hyperspace and therefore the aspects of the heavenly kingdom. They have a sense they are rapidly moving towards a powerful round-shaped holy light, and groups of light beings which are telepathically communicating with them, welcoming them, showing them love and empathy and unconditional kindness suddenly appear. And out of that is a sense of completion, a sense of inclusion, and a sense of spiritual, really deep level security that's within them, a sense that they are literally coming home, for want of a better phrase. Another aspect to what so many individuals with autism spectrum disorder or ASD conditions experience is once they've met with these light beings that they are sometimes calling white gang beings, they become their astral guides, and they carry out an incarnation review for such individuals by using the Book of Life and the etheric records. And if they decide to come back, to be a soul personality that incarnates again and has to be enshrined within the physical body of a human being, as an example here on planet Earth, those individuals will then sense a downward rushing sensation as they literally, as a soul personality, are moving through the much slower, condensed vibrations, and they're basically coming back into wanting to exist here on planet Earth, because they may have many emotional and psychological issues they need to address again and need new experiential understanding to gain a different perspective of those outstanding issues they need to resolve. So I think I'm presenting to you here some pretty amazing information, and I'm sure it's of great fascination to you. And many people discuss the subject of autism spectrum disorder or ASD conditions, but there's very few people I see that are discussing really very profound subject matter like this and making these incredible connections between individuals who have autism spectrum disorder or ASD conditions and the afterlife and the concept of the near-death experience or NDE. So I thought it was important to produce this video content and obviously convey this rather interesting and thought-provoking and reflective information to you. Now, we know that for the majority of individuals that have autism spectrum disorder, ASD conditions, life is very traumatic in many ways, and they find it to be an emotional and psychological struggle on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis as incarnations here on planet Earth in the 3D holographic reality of the material dimension. And in many ways, having perhaps a near-death experience or NDE for them is actually a spiritual lesson where they are developing their perspective beyond space-time to help as a coping mechanism whilst they decide to continue their incarnations here on planet Earth. So I'm sure you've enjoyed watching this video as much as I've enjoyed presenting this incredible information to you. Please be well, folks, and there'll be plenty more video content to come in the near future. And on that note, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will speak to you all very soon.